Well, hello there, everybody. How you doing? A little bit of Lou Reed. Oh, yeah. Definitely a man ahead of his time. So, hello, everybody. How are you doing? So good to see everyone. Thank you for being part of this fabulous, fabulous journey. It's made a lot better because of all of you. I can testify to that. And that's what my testimony is. And I stand by it. So, hello, Guy and Paul. How are you doing? Martin and Heidi, much love. Susie Q, good to see you, Lost in Space. Joyce, how are you doing? Good to see you. Rap View, hello. Good to see you. Deborah Sloan, hi. Doug, good to see you as well. Andrew, hello. So, David Castle, peace. Gaza, hello. Early in the morning, I guess, over there. What time is it? Like 8, 9 o'clock? I don't know. But we speak to you. Peace to you, brother. Angora Vibes, how are you doing? Good to see you, John Price, Joe Sapien, Martin, Heidi, much love. Divine Empress, who else is all hanging out? Thank you for hitting the like button. I guess the AI algorithm loves to be fed, so let's feed it over way. Hey, Shannon, what's up, girl? Good to see you from Texas. You know, grew up there. You know, you can take the boy out of Texas, but you can't take Texas out of the boy. That's what they say. Hey, Chris, how are you doing? Much love, dear. Linda, how are you? Good to see you. David Berry, much love. Good to see you as well, Colleen. So nothing missing, nothing broken. Favor be upon us all. BOSTO, be of service to others. And happy birthday if you got one. Rock out. Hey, Rhonda, good to see you as well. Gracie, how you doing? And what else? Oh, we are prospering. Hey, man, you speak it, it will come to pass. It's a fact, Jack. Emerald Eagle, good to see you as well. Tonight, Steiger perspective. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about crying wolf. Can you imagine that? Have no idea what that is about, but tune in, you'll like it. That's exactly it, Shannon. Yeah, exactly. It's a truth. Yeah, I have seen it all my life, and I guess if you live something, then that's truth to you, right? I mean, may not be to somebody else, but if you live it, it's your truth. So that's what I say. Hey, Greg, what's happening? Good to see you. Good to see you as well. Mm-hmm. So if you have your favorite libation, cheers. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Spice tea. Truly the elixir of the gods. And I'm a god. I don't know. So artistfirst.com, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. here where I live in the Mountain West, where it has been really hot. Yeah. It sucks. What else is going on? If you're the first time here, we welcome you. This is the Soul Tribe. We come together virtually every day. We're always together in spirit, but this is where we get to hang out, and we kind of dig it. You know, it's kind of a groovy place. You know, we welcome all points of view. We just say respect all points of view, and kind of really goes. This group is a prosperous group, and this group works with the angels. It's a fact. And I can tell you, my personal experience has been fabulous. So, yeah. And we got so many talented people. Nathan, and I believe that is Freighter Sector. I believe I said that right. I may have butchered it, but check it out. Go to his link. It's below. This gentleman he's a master. He's a wizard. And if I can tell you, in a time past, if I had gotten this kind of material, I'd have freaked out. I mean, I literally would have gone, what the hell are you doing, Steiger? But, you know, the great thing about evolving is you add to your knowledge. And you find out your early knowledge is like what the book we're reading, the book of the bee. Adam and Eve were 9 hours old. Are you kidding me? So we learn a lot. Anyway, getting back to Nathan's work, this has been very interesting because I've had situations that I can't get into, but when he sent me this and we're getting it framed, this is the 6th pentacle of Mars, and I just got to show you his work is fabulous. And as you can see, it says here, the owner of this talisman cannot be injured, wounded, or harmed. If attacked, the foe's weapon shall turn against them. It's a fact. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. Here it also says right here, the great key of Solomon. Around the 8 points of the radius of the pentacle are the words Elohim, Gebar, Elohim, hath covered or protected, written in the secret alphabet of the Malchin, or the writing of the angels. The vessel is in the form of Psalms 36. And yeah, their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. You know, Joe, if I do think I have this sigil, it's in the book of Solomon. I believe I do. And if I can, I'll get this to you. But folks, this is some powerful, his work is, I was introduced to him, must be 2-3 maybe years ago, at least. And yes, it's based on the Kabbalah, much of it. But, you know, if you're truly a god, you'll learn the ability to neutralize any outside influence. And it's been my experience. I've seen it on both sides now. I was a practicing, you know, holy roller, Pentecostal, tongue talking, laying on, claiming my fame and calling it into past Christian. And I've renounced that religion. But I'm still a spiritual person. I wouldn't have found Christianity if I wasn't a spiritual person to begin with. Spiritual people seek out spiritual things. And sometimes we get trapped, you know. Sometimes we get ourselves loose. And sometimes, you know, we got them angels. That's all I got to say. But, you know, that's what makes us unique. Not everybody is seeking spiritual gnosis. It's just not that big of a deal for them. And that's cool. That's perfectly understandable. I mean, you know, materialism is a religion within itself. It has its own gods. It has its own hierarchy. And this world is that God. It is the material realm. But getting back to Nathan's work again, I mean, his work is just, and now when he seals this, there's a purpose why he puts the seals on the material that he does. Now, I opened this one purposely so I could show you to keep the seal. But if you break the seal, then I believe, and Nathan, if I'm wrong, I know you listen, he lives in Poland, kind of releases that energy. Know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What else is going on? I didn't see that, Joe. Let me see. Well, you know, sometimes, Joe, you just gotta dive in head first. I mean, that's how I did it. You know, that's how they used to teach kids how to swim. You know, they threw you into the pool and, hey, you learn real quick. You find out that, you know, that dog paddle works. Get the hell out of here. So anyway, hey, Jules, what's up? Good to see you, Mary Wins. Much love to you, Sherry. Hello. Jules lives down in the great land of Australia. Love it. So, hey, Robert Scott, what's happening? Yeah. When you receive his material, you can feel the energy. I told you when I took out these two coins, and as you can see on the back, I felt it, man. I mean, whew. So speaking of Nathan's work, he has the card of the deck of angels, the 72 angels. Today's card that I just randomly pulled, because I figure it's like this. They're here. They influence us, right? They speak to us telepathically. Yeah. Hey, Ballot Brand, how are you? Much love to you. Mark, hello. Red Honey, hello. Good to see you. So, Esley, so this is Rael. I really like this angel. 29 is my number. And when I used to go to Vegas, it always paid off, but that's neither here nor there. This is the angel of liberation. Deus expectato, the expected God. Patrons of travelers, so that would be Big Al and Perry. In prisoners and oppressed people. Patron of nature and wide open spaces. I like wide open spaces. I don't know about you. Brings supreme and unconditional love, peace, justice, silence. Teaches how to meditate to achieve freedom of mind. Helps to improve the quality of our lives. Allows to discover through meditation the mysteries of God's work and creation. Bestows us with powers to create, produce, and conceive. Symbol of freedom, confidence, conception, and achievement. Bestows us with divine inspiration into our projects. Fills us with energy to search the truth and spread it around. Hey, Nina, how you doing? You see, 29 is my age. And you look beautiful, darling. That's all I can say. Let's see. Shows how to improve your life through meditation and study. Protects from imposters and impasses and mistrust. Liberates from evil spells, curses, rituals, enchantments, and any form of black or destructive magic. Removes bad company and bigotry. Cures any excess of ambition, manipulation, or greed. Heals hypocrisy, fanaticism, suspicion, and disloyalty. Protects from spreading incorrect or harmful lives and extreme forms of devotion. That's interesting. How destructive extreme forms of devotion can be. We were never meant to be that. Although if you read the book we're reading, it's very clear we're just punk ass slaves. That's all we are. But I digress. We're not there yet. Let's see. Keeps away dogmatism, indoctrination, and nationalism. Extreme forms of devotion. Well, I love these characters. I love these beings, man. Let's see. When is its best day? Oh, okay. February 3rd, April 19th. Yeah. Far out. That's all I got to say. So what's up, folks? Everyone having a good time? Thanks for hitting the like button. America bows at the altar of consumerism. Capitalism is a religion. It's a fact. If your money is still in the big banks, there you go. You do. You support the war effort, all of it. It's true. I think that's one of the things that I could never figure out. The fact that, all right, so to prosper, does that mean to have a lot of shit around? where you have to have a storage unit to put all your stuff in. I don't think prosperity is about stuff. I think prosperity is about how wealthy are you within? How wealthy is your spirit? And Joe, you're right. It's absolutely spot on. And if you don't know what happened in the chat room, check it out when you're looking at the replay. You'll see it over on the side. So anyway, I encourage you, get to know these beings. They're really cool. I mean, I got to tell you, I haven't found anything negative about it. Someone could say, well, maybe that's a deception. Well, if that's the way they deceive, okay, I can adapt. In the meantime, I haven't found anything of a negative vibe, as they would say. Relaxation is a luxury. It is. It truly is. Boy, Regina, you are spot on with that. Hey, Tina Bop, what's happening, girl? Little Red Haze, hello. It's true. Luxury is, and this is just me, many of us have worked hard our lives. Many have worked in physical labor. The hardest job I ever had was a guy, it's when I lived in St. Louis. He was actually a gangster. True story. His wife, who was immigrated over from Hungary, hired a hitman and killed him in his own kitchen, in the own house that he had built with his own gun. True story. They found his body. I won't get into the rest of it. Yeah. But anyway, I lived with that guy. He was in construction. He was also part of the mob, the real mob. In fact, I'll just share a little story with you. How I gained his trust, because he owned a construction company. He built foundations for homes. It's the hardest work I've ever done. Those simplex forms weigh 90 pounds each. And before you put them up, you have to soak them in diesel oil. And so as you're carrying them down into the hole that's been dug for the foundation, you got to carry them on your shoulders. And I still have massive part of my shoulders because of that. And when you strip those forms after the concrete had cured, you would snap these steel rod ties off. Well, they were sharp as razor blades, and you sometimes only had inches down there in where the basement started. Anyway, cut yourself. But yeah. But true story, how he trusted me. We were out on a job site, and this car pulls up. This is an absolute how it unfolded. And they have this thing called the vibrator. Many of you guys maybe know what it is. So they also call it a dick. And you throw the thing in there and it vibrates, and it basically, what it does is creams the concrete, makes it settle, etc. So I see his name was Rod Martin, went over there, and I didn't really pay any attention, but about 10 minutes later, he calls me. And he has this brown paper bag. It's literally a brown paper bag. And he's in the work truck, and he tells me to get in on the passenger side, and he hands me this brown paper bag and says, I want you to count this. And he gets out and goes back up to where all the concrete trucks are at. So, I'm like 18 years old, right? Yeah, 18, 19, yeah. And so I open up the bag, and it's a wad of $100 bills. So I start counting them. Well, there were 100 of them, $10,000. And put it back in the brown paper bag, got out of the truck and handed him the bag. And I said, there's $100 bills. It's $10,000. So he goes, and later that evening, when we're at his house, I had the whole downstairs basement. It was just a fabulous place. But anyway, he calls me up and he gives me $200, two $100 bills. And I said, what's this for? He says, I know I can trust you now. And he says, this is your reward for being honest and loyal. True story. So, yeah, I don't know what got me on that little trip, but anyway, it's sad when I found out that he had been knocked off by his wife. Didn't surprise me, though. We were up in Elderberry, Missouri, deer hunting. I didn't deer hunt. I just liked hanging out. And because they would go up there and play poker, they'd rent this trailer, and for 3 days, people were playing poker around the hour, and then they'd go out deer hunting. So we were in the bar. I think there was only one bar in Elderberry, Missouri. And his wife, Helen, walks in. I'm sitting right next to Ron, and she sits on the other side of him and gets her purse and pulls out the .357 Magnum that eventually killed him, murdered him with, and put it in his side and said, Ron, it's time to go home. And Ron was this big guy. I mean, he's like 6'8". And he looked at everybody, and of course he was buying all the drinks, and he said, it's time for me to go home. So anyway, just the life, just the life. You remember people like that. And yeah, he's a big old Irishman. Yeah. All right. So enough of me. Yeah, his wife, Helen, was a short little gal. I mean, she was 5'5", 5'6". I mean, woof. So I don't know if she's still alive, Joyce. She served a prison sentence for it. And I'm not sure what happened after that. So there you go. All right. So shall we move on? Life, it's so great, folks. I mean, this is what you have, those moments in your lives that, well, probably similar. If you do, how far out is that? You know what the shirt says? That's far out. But they were lessons of trust. I was a hippie, I wasn't out to, harm anybody. It was about, peace, love, rock and roll, sex, and drugs. About that. Yeah, that's about the priorities as I look at it. She wasn't very tall at all. It's just a little gal. Woof. I mean, I saw that woman get mad one time. That's that instinct, of fight or flight. And this one was flight. Get the hell out of there. Didn't want any part of it. So, all righty. As David Castle says, it's peace, love, and rock and roll. That's Lost in Space. That's it. All right. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Shall we go? Let's do it. So yesterday we found out in our book, what an amazing freaking journey this thing is, that we found out that Adam and Eve were less than 9 hours old, and they got their ass in trouble and got kicked out. Had a couple of people write me comments about how dare did I make such a mockery of Adam. I didn't. I wrote them back. I didn't. It's what the book says. He was a coward. He had no balls. Makes me wonder if he had any to begin with. I don't know. I mean, we can go down that road, but we won't. So now, 9 years old, they're getting kicked out. And in the book of treasures, which we will be getting into, we find out that it wasn't a pleasant journey for them. Adam committed suicide at least a dozen times. Eve, about the same amount of times. Oh, Adam, though, was the first one to off himself. And what he found out is that he kept coming back. Anyway, so this is chapter 18, the expulsion of Adam and Eve from paradise. After God had expelled them from paradise, like wicked servants driven forth from the inheritance of their master. Well, servant is a derivative of slave. Master is apparently what this demiurge is. Anyway, and it had cast them into exile over the gate at the eastern side of paradise. He set a cherub with a sword and a spear to frighten Adam from approaching paradise. So he's using fear. That tells me right from the get-go, this ain't the right deity to be paying any attention to. It used fear for control. Why? Same thing today, isn't it? Some say that the cherub was one of the heavenly host of the class of the cherubim, and others say that he did not belong to the spiritual powers, but was a terrible form endowed with a body. Okay, let's just stop and think about this for a second. So who created this thing? It would have had to have been this God. He said that it did not belong to the spiritual powers, but was a terrible form endowed with a body. A golem? So also the spear point and the spear were made of fire, extended like a sharp sword. That sounds to me like a light weapon. They may use the analogy of a sword, but you know, fire many times is the word that they use for light, which went and came around about paradise to terrify Adam and his wife. So this thing must have flown around. Had to be weird. And God made for them garments of skin to cover their shame. So here is the animals being slaughtered by this being. Some say they clothed themselves with the skins of animals, well, which they stripped off. But this is not credible, for all the beasts were created in couples, and Adam and Eve had as yet no knives to kill and flay them. Hence it is clear that he means the bark of trees. There's a new point. Thank you for the one person, Northwest University, who wrote that this is amazing literature. It is. Hope you have fun in school up there. Only the blessed Moses called the bark of trees skins, because it fills the place of skins to trees. In the land of India, there were trees whose bark is used for the clothing of kings and nobles and the wealthy on account of its beauty. After God had expelled Adam and his wife from paradise, he withheld from them the fruits of the trees. What a dude, man. And used the bread and flesh and wine and the anointing with oil. But they cooked grain and vegetables and the herbs of the earth and did eat sparingly. In the book of the caves, it said they didn't know how to eat. And when they first ate of the substance of the earth, because it was cursed, it transformed their bodies. They were sick for over a month. Their bodies could not adapt quick enough in the ingestion of the food of the earth that had been cursed by this God. Moreover, the four-footed beast and fowl and reptiles rebelled against them, and some of them came enemies and adversities upon them. They remained thus until Noah went forth from the ark, and then God allowed them to eat bread and to drink wine and to eat flesh, after they had slain the animal and poured out its blood. They say that when Adam and Eve were driven out of paradise, Adam cut off a branch for a staff from the tree of good and evil, and it remained with him. And it was handed down from generation to generation until Moses and even to the crucifixion. And if the Lord will, we will relate its history in its proper place. I don't know. The legend of the tip of the sword that the Roman soldier, I mean, there's a whole legend behind that one. All right, so let's get into some coitus time. We're going to get into Adam and Eve doing the bump. When Adam and Eve went forth from paradise, they were both virgins. Makes sense. After 30 years, Adam knew Eve as his wife. See what I mean? I mean, listen, folks, they didn't have television, they didn't have music, they didn't have the local restaurant to go down, they didn't have anything to really keep them too occupied. But after 30 years, I mean, Adam, you got to admit, he was at least sure, right? And she conceived and brought forth Cain together with his sister Cameloth at one birth. Excuse me. So here the story is, it's not the serpent who had coitus with Eve and then she conceived. And I got a problem with this because I know specifically in the book of Genesis, it says that Cain was not of Adam's bloodline. Seth was. But anyway, I love the story. So we have a twin sister here of Cain. Did you know that? And after 30 years, Eve conceived and brought forth Abel and Laboda, his sister, at one birth. Now, this is interesting because it's implying that Eve is giving birth to twins, a male and a female. A female or male is always apparently first because that whoever comes out of the womb first is, you know, the inheritor of the name in the family. But it's interesting. And when they arrived at the age for marriage, Adam wished and intended to give Abel's sister to Cain and Cain's sister to Abel. Okay. I don't know what this means, but I guess Adam had a reason for it. But Cain desired his own sister more than Abel's. So what this is implying is that Homo sapiens sapien is basically an incestuous race, a species. When we tell someone to go coitus themselves, we say that because that's exactly what we do. Well, that's what it's saying. So both Cameloth and Laboda were his sisters, but because of their birth at one time, I have called them thus. Now, Cain's sister was exceedingly beautiful. The two brothers made an offering to God because of this matter. I'm sorry, I'm getting caught up into this whole incest thing. I mean, but hey, what are you going to do? Ain't nobody else. But where the hell did those people, the planes come from? Okay, I'm getting ahead. Because Abel, because he was a shepherd, offered up of the fat firstlings of his first flock in great love. What means he still slaughtered them. And I contend, I don't know if I'd like to be the slaughtered part. But anyway, with a pure heart and a sincere mind. I have no idea what sincere mind actually is defined as, but okay. Cain, because he was a husbandman, made an offering of some of the refuse of the fruits of his husbandry with reluctance. Now, I've heard the story in the book of Genesis. They just twisted this around. He made an offering of ears of wheat that were smitten by blight, but some say of straw only. Maybe Cain knew something about this demiurge. I'm just saying. I mean, they were both intelligent beings, right? Something going on here that's you got to really read between the lines. And the divine fire came down from heaven and consumed the offering of Abel. It was accepted, while the offering of Cain was rejected. And Cain was angry with God and envied his brother. And he persuaded his brother to come out into the plain and slew him, murdered him. Some say that he smashed his head with stones and killed him. Others say that Satan appeared to him in the form of a wild beast that fight with one another and slay each other. Well, that means shape-shifting. That means we have spiritual beings committing murder. Now, that's a real conundrum for me. So spiritual beings of so-called a hierarchy of ascendancy commit murder. Don't seem quite right, does it? At any rate, he killed him, whether this or that way. Then God said to Cain, "Where is your brother?" Cain said, "How the heck do I know? Am I basically the keeper of my brother?" God said, "Well, behold, this is an interesting passage. The sound of the cry of your brother's Abel's blood has come unto me." So this implies that the blood is the life of this realm. That if your blood is spilt, it will call out for justice. If a person is murdered, foul play, cursed, a number of different things. And if their blood is spilt, it still apparently calls out. And then here's the interesting thing again. This God loves to curse. Then God cursed Cain and made him a wanderer and a fugitive all the days of his life. From the day in which the blood of Abel was shed upon the ground, it did not again receive the blood of any animal until Noah came forth from the ark. Adam and Eve mourned for Abel 100 years. In the 230th year, Seth, the beautiful, was born in the likeness of Adam, and Adam and Eve were consoled by him. Cain and his descendants went down and dwelt in the plain, while Adam and his children, that is, of the sons of Seth, dwelt upon the top of Mount Eden. And the sons of Seth went down and saw the beauty of the daughters of Cain. Is that sex thing again? And had coitus with them. And the earth was corrupted and polluted with lasciviousness. Now, there's a word you don't hear too much in the modern vernacular. So the world was polluted by lust. Is this to imply that the earth was not corrupted prior to all this orgy going on? I mean, that's what it was. I've read another book, and apparently they had some wild parties, man. I mean, the sons of Adam would come down, and they would meet the sons of Cain, and the sons of Cain said, "Well, y'all look like you haven't gotten any." Well, our sisters, they're a partying bunch. And apparently they used medicinal libations to, how should we say, become uninhibited. We'll read the story. It's quite interesting. And Adam and Eve heard of it and mourned. Now, Adam lived 930 years. Some say that in the days of Seth, the knowledge of books went forth in the earth. But the church does not accept this. When Seth was 250 years old, he begat Enos. And Seth lived 913 years, and he died. You cannot tell me this whole genetic manipulation, because today, few humans really live beyond 100. 1/10. Anyway, Enos was 290 years old when he begat Canaan. And Enos first called upon the name of the Lord. Now, the name of the Lord here, as you see, capital L, this is Baal. This is exactly what it translates. Baal. I know some people don't want to hear that, but anyway. Some say that he first composed books upon the course of the stars and the signs of the zodiac. So we have something going on here. This is apparently an early genus of sapiens who spoke a single language and had a single alphabet. Apparently, they knew how to read and write. They were aware of their place in history, which is even stranger because that is something that we never saw, not even with the Sumerians. The first writings that we have of man are the Sumerian writings, and it was very clear they never really caught on that they were really history in the making. To them, they always existed. You ask them about history, they go, what's history? There's just us. Enos lived 905 years. Canaan was 140 years old when he begat Mahalaleel, and he lived 910 years. Mahalaleel was 165 years old when he begot Jared, and he lived 895 years. Jared was 162 years old when he begot Enoch. Are you beginning to see something here? So the idea of propagating, conceiving, the only thing I can say, it wasn't even on their minds. I mean, if you're living well into your mid 100s before you decide to start getting it on, so to speak, it would also indicate that apparently they didn't have sex other than for extending the species. Don't know. That's what it's implying. Enoch was 165 years old when he begat Methuselah. When he was 365 years old, God removed him to the generation of life, that is paradise. In my Bible school days, we really got into this one because it kind of indicates that in one half, you're saying that man is in sin and that this God cannot stand in the presence of sin, but yet you have this man who defiled himself with a woman. That's what the culture was, because if you were, a priest, you didn't do that. And he was married. But yet God physically removed him and put him into another place. It's really weird. How did that happen? Spaceship, maybe? Methuselah was 129 and 87 years old when he begat Lamech. Now, Lamech, how do we know about Lamech? Well, it's because Lilith told her story to Lamech. And Lamech, he lived 969 years. Lamech was 182 years old when he begat Noah, and he lived 777 years. Wow. 777. Now, we've read where Noah was not a normal human being, that his body literally shone. They could not look at his body. And of course, that became a problem with Lamech because he said, well, wait a minute, woman, you've been having sex with them angels? All right. The invention of the instruments for working in iron. Now, here's one thing I don't understand about modern day paleontology. And if you look at man, iron is harder. This is interesting. They say it was the Iron Age, but the Bronze Age was really something that we knew that came before. So what was it? Iron first, or was it? I don't know. Some say that Canaan and Tubal-Cain, who were the family of Cain, were the first who invented the three tools of the art of working in iron: the anvil, hammer, and tongs. The art of working in iron is the mother and begetter of all arts. As the head is to the body, so it is to all other crafts. And as the limbs of the body cease to perform their function if the head is taken away from it, so also all other arts would cease, if art of working in iron were to come to an end. In the days of Tubal and Tubal-Cain, the sons of Lamech were the blind. Satan entered and dwelt in them, and they constructed all kinds of musical instruments, harps, and pipes. Okay, this is really not how we were told this story went. So this is basically saying that God isn't a real fan of rock and roll, but the devil loves to party. That's what it's saying. So Satan entered and dwelt. Dwelt is kind of like a permanent thing in them, and they constructed all kinds of musical instruments. Sorry. That just strikes me as funny. I mean, okay. Some say that Charlie Daniels party on, dude. Some say that spirits used to go into the reeds and disturb them, and that the sound was like the sound of singing and pipes. It says that that's what Lucifer was all about. Lucifer had the voice of 10 billion angels, said his bones were of the purest wrought gold. He had a breastplate of the most precious stones. I mean, I don't know. Says that when he opened his mouth, all the angels bowed. I don't know. But anyway, now this blind Lamech was a hunter and could shoot straight with the bow. Blind, a pretty good talent. His sons used to take him by the hand and guide him to places where there was game. And when he heard the movement of an animal, he shot an arrow at it and brought it down. One day, when shooting an arrow at an animal, he smote Cain, the murderer, and the son of Adam, and slew him. Yep. Hell of a deal, isn't it? So his great-great-grandson, this sounds like Dick Cheney. Oops, I didn't see that orange coat standing there. Yeah, well, okay. Gotta love this book. Noah and the flood. Oh, here we go again. When Noah was 500 years old, he took a wife from the daughters of Seth, and there were born to him 3 sons. Shem, these are actually the 3 stooges, but Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And God saw Noah's uprightness and integrity. Well, how did he see it? Did he come down? Did he happen to be looking up and he's just got this magic crystal and he pulls it and he says, wow, look at that shining one? I don't know. While all men were corrupt and polluted by lust. That lust thing. It's still playing havoc, right? And he determined to remove the human race from this broad earth. That's genocidal. And made this known to the blessed Noah, and commanded him to make an ark for the saving of himself, his sons, and the rest of the animals. Engineering wise, we'll continue that he did. Noah constructed this ark during the space of 100 years, and he made it in 3 stories, all with boards and projecting ledges. Each board was a cubit long and a span broad. The length of the ark was 300 cubits with width of 50 cubits. So basically multiply 2 feet times 300, and that gives you the idea. Then you would subtract basically 10% from, and anyway, you get it. It was a big boat, they say. And its height was 30 cubits. Noah made it of boxwood, though some say of teak wood, and he pitched it within and without. Can you imagine that? How many of you have ever worked with tar? I had a friend that owned a roofing company, and they did hot tar roofs. I used to watch those people that did that. You know, they got those big mops that, they dip in, and the damn thing weighs 100 pounds as you're throwing around all this hot tar. That's what pitch is. I'm trying to figure out, how did that work? I mean, did you go in and take a shower afterwards? I mean, because you'd be covered in the stuff. Maybe I think too much on these things because I'm going, now just how did they do that? God commanded Noah with his wife and his sons and his daughters-in-law, 8 souls, to go into the ark and to take in with them 7 couples of every clean animal. Whoa. I thought there was just 2 by 2. Well, apparently 7 times 2 by 2 of every clean animal and fowl. And here you get this word, clean animal. Heavily Hebraic influence here, because this is core-based Judaism. Of course, why wouldn't it be in the year 1222? And 1 couple of every unclean animal, a male and a female. So, all right, let's just look at this logical. So you got a 7-to-1 ratio. But yet, and if you just kind of extrapolated the math out from there, if you have a 7-to-1 advantage over something, it seemed like the unclean would eventually have just died off. And I often wondered, did Noah bring in the dinosaurs? I mean, were the dinosaurs considered unclean? Were the dinosaurs really the result of the Nephilim mating with the animals? And then that would basically say, well, we're missing huge gaps of time here. I mean, we're not talking just small, like a year or so, not a decade. It looks like we're missing thousands of years of time. All right. And he took bread and water in with him according to his need, not an abundant supply, lest they might be annoyed by the smell of the feces. I mean, someone had to muck out the cages, right? There were only 8 of them. They got a lot of animals. I mean, it seemed like that's all you would be doing is mucking out all the shit. I don't know. But they got food just sufficient to preserve their lives. Well, that would imply very, how shall we say, few provisions. God forewarned the blessed Noah of what he was about to do 7 days beforehand, in case the people might remember their sins and offer the sacrifices of repentance. But those rebels mocked God, and they mocked Noah. They scoffed at him, and they thrust out their unclean lips at the sound of the saw and the blaze. After 7 days, God commanded Noah to shut the door of the ark. Well, I'm trying to figure out, how did he do that? It says in the other book that God shut the door. I don't know. Still trying to figure out which God they're talking about. But anyway, and then look at this, to shut the door and to plaster it over with bitumen. That's pitch. And the fountains of the deep were broken up from beneath. That's what Lucifer said in the morning star. And a torrent of rain, or actually they ripped the firmament from above for 40 days and nights without cessation, until the waters rose 15 cubits above the highest mountain in the world. That's about 25 feet. And the waters bore up the ark, which traveled over them from east to west and from north to south, and so inscribed the figure of the cross upon the world. And it passed over the oceans and came to this broad earth, So the rain was stayed, and the winds blew, and the waters remained upon the earth without diminishing 150 days, besides those 40 days, which from the time that Noah entered the ark, then the flood began, until the waters began to diminish, making all 190 days, which are 6 months, 32 and 10 days, even until the 20th day of the latter Teshri. The waters began to diminish from the latter Teshri to the 10th month, and on the first day of which the tops of the mountains appeared. But until that time when the earth was dry, the dove found rest for the sole of her feet, and it was 100 days. The ark rested on the top of Mount, and I believe it's Cordol. In the 10th month, of which is the Shabbat, Noah opened the door of the ark to get some fresh air and sent the raven to bring him the news of the earth. And it went and found dead bodies. I bet there were a lot of dead bodies. The stench had to be incredible. I mean, people get this idea that this was this rainbow and it was just so beautiful. It had death everywhere. You ever been in a flood? You know, when a flood recedes, all it leaves is the crap, the debris. I mean, they never tell us that type of the story, do they? And it went and found the dead bodies, and it alighted upon them and returned not. For this reason, people have made a proverb about Noah's ravens. Again, he sent forth a dove, but it found no place whereon to alight, and returned to the ark. After 7 days, he sent forth another dove, and it returned to him in the evening, carrying an olive leaf in its bill. And Noah knew that the waters had subsided. Noah remained in the ark a full year, and then had sex with his daughters. Oh, I guess we're not supposed to, but that's part of the story. And he came forth from it and offered up an offering of clean animals. This blood sacrificing crap. I mean, when did this become the way to approach a deity? Well, you can't talk to him until you slaughter something. Oh, really? Well, if we slaughter animals, what's preventing him from slaughtering us? Look what he just did. God accepted his offering and promised him that he would never again bring a flood upon the face of the earth, nor again destroy beast and men by flood. And he gave him as a token the bow of the clouds. And from that day, the bow has appeared in the clouds. And he commanded him to slay and eat the flesh of beasts and birds after he poured out their blood. Is this advancement? I don't know. The number of people who came forth from the ark were 8 souls, and they built the town of the Thamanon after the name of the 8 souls. And it is today the seat of the bishopric of the province of Sabu. Noah planted a vineyard and drank its wine. And one day when he slumbered and was sunk in the deep sleep of drunkenness, his nakedness was uncovered within his tent. Oh, they do know how to party back then. When Ham, his son, saw him, he laughed at him and despised him and told his brethren Shem and Japheth. But Shem and Japheth took a cloak upon their shoulders and walked backwards with their faces turned away, and threw the cloak over their father and covered him. And then they looked upon him. When Noah awoke and knew what had been done to him by his 2 sons, by the 2 sets of his sons, he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham, and said, "Thou shalt be the servant to your brothers." But he blessed Shem and Japheth. Now think about the importance here. He's speaking a word, and it came to pass. The reason why he cursed Canaan who was not yet born, nor had sinned, was because Ham had been saved with him in the ark from the waters of the flood, and had with his father received the divine blessing. The divine blessing? And also because of the arts of sin, I mean, music and dancing and all other hateful things. I knew we would get there. Were about to be revived by his posterity, for the art of music proceeded from the seed of Cain. Well, now you know. After the flood, a son was born to Noah, and he called his name Jonathan, and he provided him with gifts and sent him to the fire of the sun to the east. Noah lived after the flood 350 years. The sum of his years was 950 years, and he saw 18 generations and families before and after it. He died on the 4th day of the week, on the 2nd of Nishan, at the 2nd hour of the day. His son Shem embalmed him, and his sons buried him and mourned over him 40 days. Wow. Well, that's a story that we don't usually see. I love this stuff. I don't know if it's true. Hello, mic test. And now I'm freezing up. Well, folks, we're going to end this. So be good. I'll see you tomorrow. Tune in to the Stagger perspective. Zoom is like freaking out.